Okay, this is day 30, part 2. Sundays are a little bit more of a think day, right? You might have seen the episode I did this morning, and you see the numbers drop off when it gets too technical, but Natalia Sova may be a code for two things. Natalia being the name of a satellite. They named them after kids. The Galileo program, they named them after different kids. So Natalia was one of the kids that got chosen. It was a satellite program that basically started after 9/11 in Europe as a civilian satellite program. So Bulgaria was the one that put that satellite up. Doesn't matter that. But the other, Sova, is a way of interpreting the data. So now, ready for the science part? Let's say we have cloud cover, right? Let's say we have cloud cover. That's a filter. Let's call that a filter. And our satellite's on the other side of that cloud cover. And let's say we're tracking the vehicles just in this parking lot, okay? That truck, car. Now the thing that we care about is the truck. That's where our container is. That's where our UF6 container is, okay? So you can see each of these vehicles here is at a different orientation. So that's going to give us a clue about what we want to track, right? Each of the vehicles are a different size, right? And they're each a different color. So those are all clues in helping us lock onto the target that we want to track. Okay, makes sense, right? I don't care about all the other ships at sea that aren't carrying UF6 containers, uranium hexafluoride, because that's where my money is. And there's other stuff below the yellow cake. There may be white cake. There may be green cake, like the cash. That's all I care about is the big truck, right? Okay, so that's our target. But I've got a problem. I've got a filter in the way of my target, and I lose sight of my target. Now I know that is worth a lot of money. Where that truck is worth a lot of money, and I don't want that truck with the Uzbeki trucker in that truck going in a different direction than I want it to. I want to make sure that truck is going to the nuclear program of Iran, or the nuclear program of Saudi Arabia, or the nuclear program of the country that I want it to go to, right? So I'm going to really be concerned about tracking, and that's what the Awans are always. If you look at Natalia Sova's background in satellite image processing, she's the expert in Pakistan, the expert in Bangladesh, excuse me. If you look at Hina Alvi, she's an expert in satellite with Suparco, which is the kind of the key military and space. It's like our NASA space agency, but it's also used by the military in Pakistan. So these are two experts, right? So this is where I say more and more information comes in, the less it's believable that Imran's actually married to Hina. But it's a marriage of convenience in the sense they don't have to testify against each other if this thing ever gets discovered, right? So again, we want to track the truck, right? The truck is the important piece here. Now, if you think of it, we could make a target, a little filter of what we were looking for at all times. And let's say it's a little outline of that truck. It could even be a picture of the truck when it left the dock in the port of Qasim, okay? Now, if I was able to have another satellite, a nano satellite, at lower orbit, right, that could track just that truck and knew exactly where the GPS of that truck was, I could then combine that with the big satellite above it, right? And in that sense, I'd be able to paint the whole picture of where all my ships were and all my trucks were. Now, I might have a whole bunch of trucks. We looked and we saw that the amount of trucks that we were chasing here could be a lot. I mean, if you want to do 32 million kilograms of yellow cake uranium, which is what Transportation Logistics wanted to do, that's a lot of trucks. There's a big network problem here, because I could have trucks coming from 342 different sites in Oregon. I could have trucks coming from 10 or 12 different sites in Wyoming, trucks coming from 10 or 12 different sites in Utah. It could be a large number of sites that hey, the election's coming up, I might not be the Secretary of State, Obama might not renew me, I got to get that uranium out of the ground with as many trucks as possible to get it in the truck, get it down to the port of Charleston or whatever the port I'm going to choose, and get it to wherever I'm going to store it for resources for the future. I want those resources for the future because I want to run for president. I want to be president. I want to be the first president, right? So what I'm saying is we take a picture of that truck and we say, okay, just look for that. So every picture that comes in, we're going to just scan across the screen and look for that truck. As soon as we find that truck, we're going to go bang. I have a good idea that it's right here in this parking lot, right? So that's going to help and inform my big satellite of the big picture, okay? And that's the whole idea of nanosats. Nanosats, and guess what? A satellite goes up called Natalia in December, I believe, or I think it's October of 2011. Imran Awan starts a company called Nanosat in July of 2011, along with his wife, who's a satellite expert, okay? Now, the other piece is, it's a little bit of coincidence, right? The other piece is how you interpret the image as it comes into you, okay? Could be obscured by cloud, there could be radiation, could be just a whole bunch of different things that could alter the image, right? So you process the image. You process the image with a V. We're gonna think about the V, and it's gonna be called vertibee. Vertibee, like a vertical bee, vertibee. A vertical bee is named after the guy who actually came up with the thing, so it's not that exciting. But it's a vertibee, and we're going to do a soft output on the vertibee, meaning that we're going to not just use the one big satellite, but we're going to use the other little satellites to help, like little helpers, to say that's where the truck is, okay? So a soft output vertibee algorithm is a SOVA. And if you put those two together, you put the satellite, Natalia, which is the Galileo satellite, along with the output algorithm, SOVA, you get Natalia SOVA. Now, is that really Natalia SOVA? Is there also another person who is coming in, or scientists that are coming in from Eastern Europe, that are taking the name Natalia SOVA for a while, working on the project, and then going back? Is it the same thing really as a beta one, where people are coming in, and a Wan Brothers ID, that they're coming in and working on this satellite project? I think so. I think so. Somebody said, hey, the day you talked about Natalia SOVA was the day that, what's his name? Julian Assange sent out the NADRA email from 7 years ago. So if Julian Assange sends out another NADRA email, you know that I'm on the right track. So I think a beta one, there's two things going on here. One is the actual processing of the image and the manipulation of the image, which is the Natalia SOVA part, and the Abid Awan part is the interface and the logistics and the tracking and the database part of it. You put the image together with a database and you have an image database or an image processing database or logistics system. And that logistics system, I still believe, is going to be called PACTS-2. It's going to be written by Brilliant Corporation, or a lot of the programmers are going to be brilliant. They're going to be brilliant in Pakistan. They're going to be brilliant here. And this technology, right? See that the clouds moved, see? So now the images that we're getting now will lock back on to this. So I can now move my model and my computational energy onto other parts that are obscured by the cloud over there, if you get what I mean. If the big brother doesn't need any help with the little guys helping him look, then the little guys can move on to the next problem, which are usually clouds. Okay, so I'll leave it there. But I say a beta one is going to be more this brilliant database side, keeping track of codes that are being sent out, more text codes like Freytag codes, like, hey, I just went into the Port of Qasim, or hey, I just crossed the Prime Meridian, or hey, you know, these are text codes going back and forth that are A to Z kind of codes. So even if you didn't have the satellite, which is, we didn't always have the satellite, you still had these old text codes or Morse codes or whatever at key points along the way. So this satellite is more continuous, the continuous monitoring, end-to-end monitoring. The Abid, I think, is going to be doing more of the logistics, the codes along the way, the Freytag codes along the way. Now I know that's a mouthful, that's a lot of stuff, but it's the evolution of actually monitoring end-to-end under video. And if you can monitor end-to-end under video, this is where the idea of, well, I'm just sitting here with my little TV in Virginia, This was the idea that was put forward, that if you could monitor something under video all the way from Port of Qasim all the way to Virginia, the Port of Qasim all the way to Jacksonville, you wouldn't have to actually do your radiation testing in the United States. And that's the idea that was accepted. That's the system that got put in. Now the bad part about that is this information, this NADRA system, can be used against people. Same way listening to telephone calls originally was to improve the quality of telephone calls, like when you call and ask for help. It could also be used to listen in on your telephone calls. The NADRA system could also be used to track you, and so that you have a personally identifiable cell phone, personally identifiable credit cards, personally identifiable information that locks to your phone, so that the government knows where you are all the time. So wait for Julian Assange's NADRA, but I just feel that it could be Natalia Sova was a satellite and a processing algorithm.